Hello and welcome back to United Agenda, where we will be talking about the latest news in who's going to be taking charge at Old Trafford. Join us for this. Hello everyone and welcome back after we discussed the absolute highs that were Manchester United winning 2-0 today in Spain. We now turn our attention to the managerial position at Old Trafford. I'm joined tonight by TalkMU and OMONDI Juma. So very welcome guys and thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
I suppose let's get into the speculation, that is out there. There's two main schools of thought regarding Mauricio Pochettino at the moment. First one that is in some of the media is that Paris Saint-Germain are waiting to do business to allow Mauricio to leave to take over at Old Trafford. A 10 million release clause is what they're looking for, and they are waiting by their phones for a phone call from Ed Woodward and the Glazers. How would you feel about that if that is the case? And just bearing in mind the latest quote from Mauricio's press conference today, he said, "I'm respecting my club. I am not going to say anything. What another club does, it does not concern me. I am not going to comment. I love PSG, the fans, the city. It is fantastic here." That is a direct quote from his press conference ahead of the Manchester City game tomorrow. So, bearing all that in mind, I'm going to come to you first. How do you feel about what's going on here?
Well, firstly, I will say, look, I respect Mauricio. I think he's a good manager. But from my point of view, I just don't think he's the answer. I don't think he's the answer for Manchester United. Just, only because he's not really done anything more than Ole, in my opinion. And I know what you say he's a better coach and all the blah blahs, but yeah, okay, that's fine. You say that, but has he actually won anything? No. Did Ole win anything? No. So this is going sideways for me. So I'm not really that keen on him. But again, if he's thrust upon us by the board, I will back him. I'll always back the manager, whoever that be. But for me personally, I'm just not that interested in him. In terms of the comments made, when you contrast that against what was being said earlier, that Paris were wanting to talk to Zidane, and then Mauricio was making comments about not being happy in Paris. The stuff around the problems he's got with Leonardo, can't play the football he wants to play and all the rest of it. Then now to come out saying this, I can understand it being because he's going to play the Champions League, but I still find there's something going on here that it just doesn't add up to me. I think there's been a bit of a really, really quick turnaround in the thoughts of Paris Saint-Germain in terms of Mauricio Pochettino, and he's now quite happy to stay there, which for me is fine, or he's just giving it the old, big up chat before a big Champions League game. It's one or the other, isn't it?
Okay, Monday, over to you.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, we're going to have a lot of discussions over the next few weeks to see what sort of manager is going to be suitable for the job and see if we can sort of scratch the surface to see if there's any truth in the rumours that keep rising. I mean, the other day it was Zidane, and now we're hearing about maybe Poch. I tend to think, because Poch is in Manchester at the moment, there's going to be press conferences, and the English media are going to pick up on it. And obviously, you're going to ask the question because he's been linked with Manchester United before and kind of endorsed as the next Manchester United manager when he was at Spurs. There was a lot of talk about that. I think Fergie said he liked him and things. So obviously, what manager at a big club with ultras and all this kind of thing really needs the heat to be saying, "Oh yeah, I am actually interested in going to Manchester United. We're about to play a big tie against Man City, and I want to go. Wouldn't mind going and leaving this club." You got Brendan Rodgers did it the other day. He said, oh, what are you on about? Acting disgusted. This is just media stuff. You have to say these things. So I can't get any indication out of that. I don't know. We have to keep searching for more clues and see what's really going on here. One thing I would say, I think, I don't know if this is true or not. It just came to mind. When Mourinho was at Manchester United, he was living in a hotel. That was clear. I think Poch apparently is living in a hotel in Paris as well. Does anyone know about that in the comments? I'm sure. I don't know. We'll see if that's true. Does Poch live in a hotel in Paris? Is he settled there? You know, it's a big club. He's got a lot of lovely players to work with, and he's likely to win a trophy or two, league title, domestic titles, and maybe the big one which they want. How grand would that be for him to go and get the European Cup? Or I'm old, man. I'm sorry, the Champions League. You know, that kind of thing. So he's in a nice situation right now, and it's nice to be loved. It's nice to be wanted, and it's clear we're putting out feelers, and this is the reaction we get, and it's hard to gauge from it whether he wants to come or not. What I will say about Poch as a manager, what he did at Southampton, what he did at Spurs without any money. I remember there was a period he did it making signings for like 18 months, and they got to the Champions League final, played some good football, peaked a little bit. But he's never quite sort of been the man for me, because I've always felt that maybe he's not got that oomph, you know, like that kind of what's his identity, you know, what's he got, what's he really got here. But he's one of the better known managers, and I have to give him respect for the work that he's done, you know, despite, as Talk said, not winning anything. So really interesting. Who knows, Rebel, tomorrow you could be hosting the show on somebody else, you know, so let's just see how it goes.
Absolutely. It's interesting actually that you touched on the whole hotel side of things, because that was part of the story that came with the whole Paris Saint-Germain are waiting for United's phone call, £10 million, and we will release him for his contract. They did mention how he was unhappy in Paris. As Talk said, they did mention that he wasn't happy that he didn't have control of the team, that he was just coaching the team. His title is as a coach, and that Leonardo is responsible for putting the team on the field and making all the tactical decisions and all the rest of it. So it is interesting that you touched on that information on the hotel, because that is something that article also did touch on. And I suppose staying with our friend, Mr. Romano, he also had a tweet quoting Erik ten Hag. And again, similarly, along the lines of the Pochettino one, he said, Manchester United interest, in a questioning tone, I am busy with Ajax. No one has contacted me. I can confirm this. I want to win titles here. So very much wearing his Ajax jersey and pinning his loyalty and colours to the mast, that he has no interest in talking about any speculation. And imagine, as you said, this is obviously par for the course with what the various managerial candidates are going to say to media when questioned. But I suppose on Monday, there's quite a number of comments coming through, and I suppose, do you want to take a look and see what we got going on in there?
Okay, so we're just filtering through now. So Bath Time, while I'm on it, stuck on his comment, Bath Time saying Poch would be an immense upgrade for us. And I thoroughly agree with the coaching we have at the moment. I don't know if you guys nodding with that one. Do you think it'd be an immense upgrade?
Well, I suppose when you look at it, I'm going to throw this out to Bath Time and the rest of the commenters, because I want to hear their views on this. Because at the end of the day, they're all fans like us, and I'm interested in their say in the matter. Is where do you think Poch would improve us? What do you think he would bring to the table in terms of what he could affect at Manchester United, and what he could bring us to, what levels he could bring us to? So if you want to throw those ideas in the comments, we'll take a look at them as the show goes on. And as we are talking about the subscribers and those who are just joining us for the first time, make sure you are hitting that subscribe button, because at 1,000 subs, we will be giving away a signed Bruno Fernandes shirt to one of our lucky subscribers. So make sure you have that, subscribe and bell on lockdown, so that you can get in touch with us whenever some breaking news happens about Manchester United.
So Box here, hi Box, how you doing? He says Pochettino wants to build a legacy at a club. legacy and thing. So that's something long term. You imagine, being at a club for a long time. And he says Spurs never backed him in the transfer market. That's also true. I mean, TalkMU, do you remember that when he got to the final and they didn't sign anybody? I mean, what do you think about that legacy, Man United?
Yeah, I do, but I don't know. There's just something like you said about the man management side of him. Has he got any gonads? Is he going to be really harsh when he needs to be, and make the decisions that need to be made, etc. And I don't know, because you can't listen. One thing we cannot do under any circumstances is put ourselves alongside anything that happened at Spurs. So he struggled at Spurs. Let's have it right. I know no money was spent, but Spurs is not Manchester United. So can he actually take the mantle of being Manchester United coach with everything that brings on its own, and also make the right decisions in terms of personnel, and then actually get as a brand of football that is actually not just sustainable but effective in being, challenging, continually challenging. We don't want just a new manager bounce syndrome here, because we've had that too many times. And for me, there are question marks in that. And again, when you're talking about bringing somebody in as Manchester United manager with all the mistakes we've made in the past, we need to now start making the better decisions. Sorry, bringing in, like, for me, something like Zidane would be the answer for me, because of it's Zidane. Say no more. That's his name. That's it.
Talk like bath time. I mean, sorry, right, Rebel. Bath time's he's answered your question about explaining the immense difference between what we got now, and he's saying that, for example, which is, I think this is good. He said telling Mason how to do basic things like curving his runs when closing down. Poch will be the first coach Rashford and Greenwood would have had that understands modern football. So I think that's a good response there by Bath time with Vaughan. I accept that. I mean, listen, let's have it right. If that's what we're saying, that we're I mean, they're basics though, aren't they? They're basics. You play football, But that, in my opinion, that shows that if that's basic thing, like I said yesterday about simplifying things, Ryan Clough style. If that's basic, then where are we coming from? What were we doing prior to this? So I think there's examples there.
Yeah, but we're not just looking at basics though. If we're looking at somebody to say, right, we want you to put this Peppa Pig jigsaw puzzle together, then sorry, we're in the totally wrong spot there. Because it's not a Peppa Pig puzzle. This is more than that. This is more than just saying to Mason Greenwood, curve your run, or Marcus Rashford, curve your run, or whatever. No, this is the bigger troubles for me are as we know, our midfield is extremely unbalanced as it stands at the moment. It's so unbalanced. We need at minimum 2 quality midfield players in there, and then somebody who can come in and work that midfield so that everybody else has the freedom and the time to do what they've got to do in terms of the pitch. Because every time you watch us play, it's that midfield, and you know as well as Monica, because you play football. That's the heart of the game. That's the heart of it right there. If you don't get that midfield,
you're talking. So excuse me. You're talking about players. This is where the trap we fell into last year. Oh, Ollie, we could tell Ollie was struggling last season. Let's get this player in. Let's get that player. It's all we need is right winger. And then, but we're talking here about a manager. Who understands, as half-time with Vaughan just highlighted, to conclude, he said he understands modern football. So I want to know, does modern football's really changed that much? Do we need a manager on that tip who understands players and modern football and the little
but that's
varieties of play and that kind of thing? Box here is saying under Poch, this is more endorsement of Poch. Tottenham under Poch were the most exciting team in the league. Ericsson pulling strings, Kane impervious. He wasn't impervious to pain. He was getting bad ankles all the time. Ali in his pomp. Son is Son. Dembele dictating centre midfield. Flying fullbacks, Rose and Walker. So there's something, an identity there. I just want to ask you guys a question, please.
One sec. One sec. Listen, again, we cannot. This comment here, it's a good comment, but we're talking about Spurs there. You're talking about Spurs with the Spurs mentality, the Spurs level of players, and everything else. That does not apply to Manchester United. It has got nothing to do with Manchester United. That. So I got
to interject for a minute because I want to keep the train on the tracks. because we do have a body of work to keep going through, and there is some interesting items to be debated in terms of the comparison between a job at Tottenham and a job at Manchester United, which I think could be a subject for another stream. But I suppose looking at the outline of where the top level managers are at the moment, we've obviously got one at Chelsea, we got one at Liverpool, we got one at Manchester City, and there's now one at Tottenham. At the moment, United are looking to either bring in a man that's going to be the guy that's going to be there for at least the next 2 to 3 years, or appoint an interim. And The Guardian have given us a story today that the viable alternative to not getting Poch at the moment is Mascherano Valverde, who is the former Barcelona manager. It is understood that he spoke with John Murtagh, United's football director, today, taking over on a temporary basis, and it's believed that he is a good choice by the board because he has worked with the likes of Lionel Messi before, which would make him working with Ronaldo something that would be easy for him to transition to, having dealt with such a high-level star before. Looking at that, and the option being a Valverde-type person coming in until the end of the season, possibly with no changes in the coaching dynamic that's currently in Manchester United, something that was highlighted as being one of the downfalls that led to the end of Ole's reign as manager. Is that something that could be seen as a way that we're not exactly saying that we're going to take this season by the scruff of the neck and try and win something, because we're basically putting in a seat coaster until the end of the season and then reevaluating in the summer? Do you think that that is the case? OMONDI, I'm going to come to you first.
Okay, so Valverde, he's had I recall he came into Barcelona, and I think he had 3 years there, didn't he? 2017, 18, 19, maybe around them times. And he was coming into a well-oiled unit, he's Spanish as well. He's played football. I think he used to be a striker, didn't he? And he got sacked in the end. But I think he went on a run. Obviously got Messi in the team, and they were still running things. He went on a good run, unbeaten for a long period of time as well. And obviously they didn't win the Champions League. And I think that is, for Barcelona at that time, 4 or 5 years ago, that was like the measuring stick about being success, I believe. So the problem what we got now is, like, when you bring in a manager, like we discussed the other day, like we're talking about Poch and like with Valverde, if he comes in, are you expecting Valverde, who's Spanish, who hasn't managed in the English league yet, to come in and work with what we got as in the backroom staff coaching, or expect him to bring his own boys in and just say, right, bam, we're going to do it this way from now on? I think that's taking it. I don't think he should really be considered just strictly based on him coming in and just upsetting everything and just making too many changes. I think it has to be a long-term goal to say, right, who have we got in mind at the end of the summer? If it's not Valverde, then we don't want to disrupt the ship too much, where we getting right Valverde, bringing his whole team in, and then we got all these guys out of the club, and certain guys maybe we want to keep and maintain them. Who knows how it's going to be. So I'm not sure about him. I don't think he's the right. For me, it just doesn't feel like he's the right guy for the job. Based on that, he's going to come in with his guys. He's Spanish. He's going to, how long will it take to him to get through to the English game and understand what does he know about playing away at Burnley? What does he know about going to Chelsea this weekend? That sort of thing. Poch knows more. So in that respect, I think Poch would still trump him at the moment. I don't know what you think about that talk.
I don't know. I mean, you look at this, Valverde plays 4-3-3. He has won a couple of doubles. So he's got, that's the edge he's got on Poch, in my opinion. I think he's more than a good enough manager to be able to come in and deal with the likes of Burnley all day long. There's no two ways about that. And for me, to go to do the double like he did it in Spain, and I think he did it somewhere else. I can't remember what it was, but he did do it somewhere else. Then, yeah, he's going to be able to get the problems fixed in our midfield areas. That's the big concern for me. And I think just he's won. The guy's won. And if this is an interim, whilst we wait for someone like Ten Hag, who's going to maybe agree to be on a long-term contract to actually change our identity back into, like a more style of football that's going to please the fans and be more exciting and more attacking and give us more of a chance to win more than we lose, then I would go for that, for him to step in. until we can get someone like that in through the door. So I think he's got the edge over Pochettino, and I understand what Bath Time with On was saying about what he did with Spurs and everything else. But again, it's a different thing. That's Spurs we're talking about. You can't apply the same rules to Spurs that you would take from Manchester United and managing Manchester United. So
absolutely,
it would be a huge risk.
I suppose, as I pay homage to our colleague Mr. B, something a bit of gentleman Jack here, chilling out after that great win and that great victory for Manchester United today, I will put it back to you, Talk. Do you share, though, a concern that Valverde coming in a kind of, or somebody like a Valverde coming in a caretaker temporary capacity until the end of this interim capacity until the end of the season may not change up the coaching structures, and could that then lead to an extension of the problems that we had prior to Ali departing?
No, because once somebody comes in and actually implements a plan and a blueprint that the coaches understand, if they are the ones to be staying in their jobs, which is another big question mark, then they will adapt. That's their job, is to adapt. They have to adapt to the opposition each week. Like I was saying before about identifying, right, okay, we're coming up against blah, blah team. Who do we want? What's their weak side? Well, the crap on the left-hand side. Great. So we're not going to have really any threat from that side. Okay, so we're going to play this player or that player or vice versa. So they are adaptable, the coaches. I just think he will. And also he plays a 4-3-3. So, if you're looking at someone like Ten Hag, who also is favour of that system, then, they'll have already played it till the end of the season, then going into the summer break. Perfect. It's a perfect sort of drop off onto another manager who's going to come in and then actually educate them more on the nuances of 4-3-3 and the intricacies of it. But again, I'll go back to what I said before as well. We need somebody who knows and can identify which are the best players that we need to bring in to work with what we've got in the rest of the squad. Because let's have it right, we're not going to have somebody come in and telling us, I don't want like 7 of the first team squad or something. That's ridiculous. We'll be stuffed, because the board are not going to go for that. They're going to be like, whoa, no. So we need somebody clever enough to come in and go, you know what? I see where the problems lie here, and I know I can identify which components that you need, and bring them in, and that then will make the rest of the clock tick much, shall we say, smoother. And for me, that's one of the keys to this.
I suppose, kind of coming up rapidly towards the station and looking at before we get to the final story, I suppose the one thing that is clear at this point is, because Michael Carrick does not have a full UEFA Pro license, he is on a limited time in terms of how many games he can take charge at Manchester United before having to be removed from the position that he's in. So I suppose there is a certain amount of clock ticking going on as to which direction the board will go in terms of whether they go for a interim manager or whether they go whole hog and appoint a Pochettino or a Ten Hag or whoever they target in terms of getting them out of their current club. And one, before we get to the final story of the day, now it is one that I'm springing on you, so I do understand that you're not ready for this one. Is there any last?
I'm ready.
Is there any last comments that you want to come up from the people in the chat?
Yeah, there's a few comments here about Matic. Someone saying about Matic had a poor performance, but they're saying he's the only CDM we have in the club. This all stemmed from saying that we need a CDM. So we talk about management here, but the managers would have to identify that we don't really have a CDM apart from Matic, maybe, and that could be something the new manager, interim manager, would identify and bring in at one point, And also, there was another comment that I really Valverde. This is because we can't pretend to know. I had to do a little bit of research about him. They said he likes to play 4-4-2. This is from Saragon. How you doing, Saragon? He says he likes to play 4-4-2, and I think I do remember this, because at Barcelona haven't played that for such a long time, and when he did come in, it was sort of similar to that. It was a 4-4-2, and it's like I've noticed that Diego Simeone, he's someone who's sort of revived the 4-4-2 again with Atletico Madrid. So it's not a dying formation. I think it is effective. We see it at Burnley as well. They seem to play that sort of 4-4-2 as well. And it does put the three at the back defenders that we get these days and 4-4-2 defenders, 2 centre-backs. If you've got two guys up against you, it does cause you a few problems because people aren't really used to that. So I think with the right sort of players and personnel, 4-4-2 can still work. I remember a few years ago when Mike Phelan and Paul Ince, you used to have a midfield of Keane, Robson. No, we have it's a midfield of McClare, Phelan, Giggs, and Paul Ince, for example. So where's the right wing? There's no right winger there. There's a left winger maybe or something. Or Lee Sharp would play with these guys. You know, he wouldn't play Giggs on the right or Lee Sharp on the left. So these players are more intelligent. Phelan would play sort of drift out wide or Ince and Keane or Robson would stay out in the middle. So you can, if you go back and watch 80s football or 70s football or even the 90s football, there was still a 4-4-2. And this is what we've witnessed today is by Carrick. He sort of put players in position. Someone said Fred was playing sort of on the left, which sort of, he was there to do a job to stop maybe getting caught in the overlap and that kind of thing. And it works. It works. It's all about shape and everything else. So if he's playing his 4-4-2, it's not to say, we need 2 wingers and bombing on and all that kind of thing. You can still play midfielders in there. I think Goran Eriksson, he tried to do that with England at one point. Steven Gerrard, Lampard, Scholes on the left. And Scholes is intelligent enough to sort of drift in. Doesn't mean he's always on the left or he's bombing down the ring and crossing the ball. It's got a bit more intelligence than that, you know. So those are the 2 comments, and yeah, thank you everyone for contributing. What's the last thing you got for us?
One sec. We say this about him, but his preferred system is 4-3-3. He played a 4-4-2 to accommodate what he had there at Barca, but his preferred system is 4-3-3, which he obviously would have more success with. So that's just something to consider.
And
that's not true. That's not true because if you're saying to accommodate 4-4-2 to Barca, that was the big thing at the time when he came in. The system change wasn't to accommodate the players that they had. They've got more central players in there. So these players were kind of like not really out wingers or anything like that. They just played in a shape. When they didn't have the ball, they played in that shape to like Atletico Madrid do, to sort of be more compact in that sense. Yeah, unlike us, when we've had 2 midfield recently, and we're not being compact because we've had players too far out the pitch and we were getting counted on. But anyway, yeah, let's move on because I'm interested to know what your final point is.
Very interesting debate there in terms of the management side, but I'm going to move on now to, well, it's actually our second last item. The last item is going to be very quick, but I'm going to read a few lines from an article. Zlatan Ibrahimovic was interviewed by The Guardian, and I'd just like to get the thoughts of the panel here and our commenters on what he's saying about Manchester United. Obviously, he's a guy that scored over 400 goals for various clubs and made 100 appearances for Sweden. But this is what he said about United's struggles. They talk too much about the past. When I went there, I said, I'm here to focus on the present and to make my own story. But when you have too much, it becomes a loop. You have to think about the present, and you should go to a hospital and clean your head. The quality in the Premier League, he says, is overrated. And finally, he says, in Spain, France, Italy, the technique is better. That's why there are so many foreigners in the Premier League. They bring the technical aspect. Talk to me.
We can't deny that the technical ability of some of the players from Europe and South America and everywhere else. The levels, they are levels. There's no 2 ways about that. We can't, but you need a blend. You need a balance. That's clear for the most successful teams. You do need a blend and a balance. In terms of looking at the past, I mean, you're always going to need to have something to refer to where you've been successful. Otherwise you can't leave that behind. You've got to have something to look back on. So I understand what he's saying, but I mean, don't forget this is Zlatan we're talking about. He lives in his own world, Zlatan, and I've got the utmost respect for him because he was, and maybe still is, one of the greatest strikers in the game. So, but yeah, I understand what he's saying.
Very valid points. OMONDI, over to you.
Yeah, I agree with him. He's totally right. He is right what he says. I mean, they are technically better. They're more tactically better. And there are loads of foreigners in here. If you go to Italy or Spain, it's majority Spanish players. If you look at the percentage-wise of English players in Premiership teams, very small. And the most important thing is management. There's only 3 or 4 English or British-based managers. Maybe more. I'm just throwing it out. Maybe like 3 or 4 I can think of in the Premiership, and that's not enough for a domestic league. And if we want to be achieving things, so I do think over time the Premiership is being more consistent than the best, but it's because we've had to employ other foreign coaches. And look at us, we're Man United, and top of our favourites list is always foreign coaches to take over our club, going forward.
I suppose honing in specifically on the Manchester United aspect of that whole conversation, and particularly the living in the past style of things. Obviously, we saw this from other clubs before they got their success back. Have we started to drift into but we've won 20 top league titles, but we've won 3 Champions Leagues? Have we as a fan base fell off the want for winning, the need for winning, and adding and making a current future and the current history, and talked and reminisced about what we've done in '99, what we've done in years gone by? Is that something that has crept into our fan base?
Yeah. Sorry, I want to grab this one. Yeah. If you look at 1966, it was always talked about, 66 we won the World Cup. But if you look at England as a nation of football, we've never really been successful at top international level. It's not good enough for the reputation we think we have. And we kind of live in a bubble like that. If you go abroad and watch football abroad, they applaud certain things, sideways passes, passing back, good defense. Italians, for example, they love defense. They see the art of defense as a art of war and technique and finesse and that kind of thing. And in different leagues have different sort of attributes which make them really good, So I think England really, they've been in the dark ages. Maybe it's the European ban after 85, after the Heysel disaster. We've gone back. I think we went back a few years. It took Fergie a long time from 91 to win the European Cup again, to get that back in. And it's taken, because prior to this, English clubs were always in the mix, So I think it makes a world of difference when we are looking in the past. It makes a difference for fans as well. I think fans need to get more intelligent, like the comments we have in here. I find them really intelligent. That's why I love reading the comments or having discussions with you guys, because you actually know your stuff. I'm of this mindset. When you go to games, sometimes it wasn't so long ago. You go to games, you go like that, and the midfield being bypassed. The game was like,
sorry, Monday
evolved.
I'm going to have to get you to come into sum up more, because I am conscious that we are racing against the clock at this point. Before I give you the last question, the final question, that is a one-word answer. I only want one word from you. I will remind the viewers that at 1,000 subscriptions, the channel is giving away a signed Bruno Fernandes jersey to one of our lucky subscribers. So make sure you've hit that subscribe button to stay in touch with everything Manchester United here. Now, the question is, we can get one player in January. In one word, who is it? On Monday.
Declan Rice.
Declan Rice for talk on Monday?
I like Kesse. I think Kesse's kind of suited to us. I think Kesse, yeah.
And I would have said,
yeah.
I would have said Ruben Neves. I'm going to throw this one out to the chat for after the live ends. Who would you like, if you had one player to come in January, who would that be? Let us know in the comments. But for tonight, we have been the Manchester United agenda. We have won in the Champions League, and we have qualified for the last 16. So from us, from me, from Rebel, from Talk, and from OMONDI, it's good night.